Had several different people ask me what kind of compressor to use for airbrushing. This is the first little air compressor that I ever purchased for airbrushing. It's a Tester's. I believe it puts out around 15 to maybe 20 psi. It's not a very high output unit. However, it did get me by for probably the first 6 to 9 months that I was painting. It's not an extremely loud compressor, but for the amount of money that you'd spend on this unit, there's actual better airbrushing compressors out there. Here it is on, just to give you an idea of the volume that it produces, or how loud it is, I guess I should say, when it's running. Right now I've got the camera about halfway between my mouth and the compressor. This gives you a rough idea. And this is what it would sound like under load. Actually trying to build pressure up. It's a little bit on the noisy side. Now the next option is just a homemade, or excuse me, is a home shop compressor. This is just a 10-gallon brute that I bought at Walmart. I believe it's a $99 unit. Very good option. What I like about having one of these units is the fact that not only can I use it for airbrushing, but I can also use it around the house, air up tires, balls, whatever you name. So this is actually my primary compressor that I use for airbrushing. There's not a lot of major things you need to change. You know, if you have a shop compressor like this, you just want to make sure that you have a regulator and some type of a moisture trap on it. But any normal household compressor will work fine. Now the downside to this compressor is I paint inside in my basement, so here's the volume on this one. So right now I've got the camcorder held right beside my mouth, and basically I'm talking pretty loud, hoping that, you know, you can hear me over the top of it. Needless to say, it's pretty loud. The plus side to this type of an air compressor is it produces a much higher volume of air at a much higher PSI. Most airbrush compressors, such as the Tester here, it's going to be a very low pressure unit. Some of the better quality ones, like the Smart Jet, the Silent Airs, units along those lines, they're going to be about a 50 to 60 psi output, but they're going to be a pretty low CFM, or cubic feet per minute. Basically what that is, it's a volume measurement. It's the amount of air it produces at a given psi over a minute. Those are very low level or low volume air compressors as compared to, say, this unit here. This unit here would probably produce somewhere between 5 and 10 times more volume than your typical airbrush compressor. Now another option, and this is something I've been working on. I haven't had the opportunity to play with it lately. Let's just kind of wheel it out here and get a little bit better look at it. This is actually a homemade airbrush compressor. This unit is capable of going up to 100 psi. Don't really know the volume, the CFM rating on it. I've never really measured it. But one of the pluses to this unit, as I'm sure you can see here, it is running full blast right now. And other than the fact that you can hear a check valve leaking, it's a very quiet unit. If I pinch off the check valve, I'm about 10 inches from it right now. I'm about 10 inches from this compressor, and that's its volume. That's how loud it is. But that's a homemade airbrush compressor. Just to give you an idea of you know, what can be done with old freezers, refrigerators. That's what these two compressors are from. This one is actually from a refrigerator, and this one's from an old freezer. and we've just connected them together with some soft copper tubing and some various brass fittings. Now, what's more important in a airbrushing system is actually right here, regulators. On my regulators, you'll notice I have a moisture trap at the bottom. Up here at the top, I have pressure adjustments. Now, the nice thing about this unit, it's a relatively cheap inline regulator I got from Harbor Freight. I believe it was $15–16. But the fact that you can put that in line, you can adjust your pressure, or you can, clear the line of moisture with a little bleed valve here. It's very nice. Moisture traps are probably the most important aspect that most people overlook when they go to airbrush. If you get any kind of moisture in your line, it makes your paint spit and carry on, and it just makes it really rough on you. To kind of take things an extra step here, I've actually got a additional inline air filter right up here at the top of my system. This actually filters everything prior to coming in to my manifold system. Just step back a little bit. I've actually got three bigger. These are 300-pound bulk tanks that I hold air in. Predominantly do most of my painting at night, so I've got to keep a pretty decent amount of air on hand. Can't really be kicking this thing on in the middle of the night, waking the wife and the kids up. Have a tendency to get a little mad at me. Until I get the opportunity to fix the check valve and a couple other minor little issues on this unit, this is what I'm going to be using for the time being. That's where I'm going though. It's quiet. When it's all said and done, it will produce more than enough pressure, and the volume that it will produce will be more than sufficient for me to be able to paint bodies and not have any concerns about the compressor running way too often. So to answer the question, what type of compressor can you use with your airbrush? Basically anything you can hook an airbrush to, you can use. You just have to decide, do you want to spend the money on regulators and moisture traps? Do you want to go with a really low pressure, low volume, moderately noisy compressor? Do you want to go with a normal shop compressor? Most of them nowadays have built-in regulators, but you still need to add some type of a moisture trap. This is the homebrew air compressor, airbrush air compressor, but it's very similar to the units that are on the market now, specifically made for airbrushing, such as the Smart Jet and the Silent Airs. So, for my money right now, this is where I'm at. Like I said, it's good for around the house as well as airbrushing. When it's all said and done, that's where I'm going to go as far as airbrushing. I won't use it for anything else, but it will be my primary airbrush compressor when it's all said and done. This will actually get moved out in the garage where it belongs. So, got any more questions? You can hit me up on thetoys.com, Neil Knott, or you can message me here at YouTube.